Sometimes his jaw comes out and just goes like that when he's really emphasizing a point.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
I talk right at the camera.
He takes his dentures out and he's like, do you understand?
Hi, I'm Bryce Shivers.
And I'm Lisa Eversman.
We've come upon some tough times.
Money's running low.
It's kind of a long story, not my fault. But we figured out a solution. Rent it out.
You can rent out anything.
Extra bedroom? Rent it out.
Have a car? Rent it out. Just like New York City. You can rent out everything, anything, anyone.
Isn't that kind of like prostitution?
Not when it's from a cute website.
Fred Armisen, Carrie Brownstein, thanks for joining us on the first week of the Season 4 Portlandia premiere. We asked you to bring something to show us today that connects to the show and your creative process. What did you bring, Fred?
Well, for me, this is a very real thing. This is coffee, but it's not just coffee. I always try to get really good quality coffee, and I wake up, if we have a call time of like 7 a.m., I get up at 4:30, no kidding, just to kind of like settle in. It's like the only time of the day where I could be quiet and just think. And I always make sure I have one of these, little scoopy things.
Is that what it's called, a scoopy thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a technical term.
Scoopy thing.
Oh yeah, trademark.
Copyright. Okay. So yeah, I'm doing an ad for Scoopy Things.
And Carrie, what did you bring to show us?
This is actually something that I think Fred would concur.
Yes, you don't underestimate this.
I mean, I brought my phone, and it seems cliche.
Yeah.
But there is something very grounding about having, it becomes like a talisman, it becomes almost like a physical, like muscle memory comfort to just have this, so much information is on it in terms of all the notes that I take throughout the year. And I think when you're working on something creative, you have to be immersed in that, but you also have to have some thread to the outside world because you lose perspective. And so somehow the phone, and I guess I sort of begrudge that it's become this technological device is doing this, but it helps me within the show, but it also helps me remember, like, I exist outside of the show because it is so consuming.
Often when you watch this show, you can almost see the observation that was the kernel of the idea, whether it's, the extent to which people wait in line for brunch, or, those goofy shop signs where, some kind of deep message or whimsical message is written on a chalkboard. So you can see the observation that may have started it, and then it goes in different directions.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe you can give me an example of how an idea from perhaps a previous season or even this season got started and then spun out into what it became in sketch form.
There's cacao, I suppose.
Or celery.
Celery?
Yeah, I mean, celery is a great one because that, for people who haven't seen it yet, it turns into essentially a short film about how celery is rebranded.
And Brussels sprouts are back. Don't know how you did it, Bill.
They sell themselves.
Which brings us to celery. Yes, Marty, I'm talking about you.
Oh, yeah, doing the best I can here.
Your numbers are down.
Yeah.
Look at this graph.
Oh, because my graph,
That's you down here.
I don't have that same graph.
Oh.
Did you ever hear of a thing called Bloody Marys?
I need new ideas, Marty.
But what I'm trying to get back to is just food. Just a basic stick of celery is good in and of itself.
Really, Marty? Because I feel like celery is limp.
Old celery is. I'm talking about the new and improved celery. I'm gonna do a whole viral celery phenomenon that is just going to knock your socks off.
Well, that was just it relies on trends a little bit in that, like, restaurants serve certain vegetables sort of seasonally, but also every year there seems to be a kind of new vegetable that you find everywhere. And so we just thought of what is the uncool one? What's the one that has not gotten a break yet? And we just came up with celery. And then from there we expanded into, well, how will the piece be? What will it look like? How can we make it different?
I'd like to hear a little bit about some of the people, some of the extras in your show. There's almost kind of a David Lynch quality to some of them, in that they might be silent, and just their look is what they convey, and their presence is what they convey in the shot, and you guys are often acting off them.
That's definitely the work of a very talented talent department. The casting person we have for the show is really good at picking out people who look a very particular way, and also our director and editors. So Jonathan Kreisel kind of will say, that guy. Can he act? We have no idea. No idea.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Because if people are sort of pillars, then she and I can just really actually kind of grow and actually make things happen.
And it adds a texture to the scene. It adds this verisimilitude where, you're in this, it's like a painting or something, and you look around and you see the background, and it helps enhance the scene. And I think, early on, Jonathan Kreisel, our director, he said he wanted it to feel like a David Lynch, film, or like Twin Peaks, where you almost feel like there's this insularity, like there might only be 50 people in Portlandia.
Right.
And you see them all over, and it's fine if they're playing different characters. It's just about their face being there. It makes you think, oh, this world is a little strange. It's not exactly the world we know. It's a little more mysterious than that. And I think we really like that. We play with that a lot, and we bring back the same people, and they work with us all the time when we love it. We put their pictures up in the writer's room, and we say, like, we've got to get this person for the scene, because it is like adding a different light to the scene, or a different energy. A lot of our characters is about figuring out what is their purpose, what makes them tick, and what makes the couple tick. Like Kath and Dave realizing they need a crisis. As couples get older, often they think, oh, you know what would be great? Stillness, quiet. And then Kath and Dave realized, no, we don't. We thrive on trauma. We're bored. The thing that gets us excited about being around each other is to be in a crisis mode. That's when we're our best. So we tried to put all these characters into situations that would sort of question, what makes us stick together. It was a lot about couples this season, I thought.
Yeah.
Music, of course, is a common bond for both of you. In terms of rhythm, I mean, this may be a cliche point, but timing and rhythm, it seems like watching the show, there's a certain rhythm to it. In the editing of the show, there's rhythm to it, drum cues, things like that. What would you say is the musical sensibility of the show, and what you guys bring that together?
I think all of us, from Fred and I to John to the editors, we do think about the sketches and the whole episode like songs, so you want tempo changes, you want there to be a percussiveness to it, you want to surprise people, you want things that are quiet so that you notice the loud. We think about it in terms of dynamics and in terms of timing, and I think that permeates the entire process, from the writing to certainly the performance. I would say from performance to editing, that is all very musical.
Even the ads and stuff.
Yeah.
What's the poster going to look like? It should be like an album cover. I even think for sketches that don't work that well, I'm very forgiving of it, because albums that I have where I didn't like one song on it, years later I kind of do like the song, so it's always like, yeah, it's okay if there's a couple. If it dips down a little bit, it makes the whole album good.
Because then there's also that surprise, like with fans of records, that, where someone comes up and they surprise you by liking that weird song, or that they surprise you by liking that one sketch that you thought, I didn't know anyone really liked that one.
Right.
And then suddenly that tells you about that person. I love that surprise.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, what is it about that person that they like that one instead of the obvious one?
Right.
Right, the deep cut.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
On the album.
Yeah. It is like that.
It's usually song number 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of song number 8, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they just put it down there and just like, yeah, we'll stick that right in there.
Yeah, no one will notice.